It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
We have some major news right now. Venezuela is mobilizing its troops and militias throughout the country, preparing for war against the United States of America. This comes as the United States has, obviously, as you know, the warships, the Navy has struck, the military has.
Hey, how we stop wars all like didn't Trump stop like 7 wars apparently but then now we getting into a war? That don't make sense. Yeah, make that make sense.
Struck a number of Venezuelan boats in the southern Caribbean, but also there are about 10,000 American troops near the border of Venezuela. And while it looks as though it's increasingly likely that the United States could potentially invade Venezuela in the coming weeks to potentially oust Nicolas Maduro. And so Venezuelan troops and militias have officially been mobilized. Now, Venezuelan troops are very ill-equipped compared to the United States military. The military comparisons are really, there is none. But what is clear is that the United States could be drawn into potentially a long war and a long regime change situation in Venezuela in South America. This is very big news right now. So spread the word. Full updates on my Substack, linked in bio. Subscribe for free. Follow along for more. We have some major news.
Well, it looks like we're not safe, America. But the only thing safe in America is the Epstein files. They're not releasing them.
Right.
Okay, so Venezuela is a medium-sized country in South America. Right now, they have a military-style government that's run by what lots of people are calling a dictator named Nicolas Maduro. Nicolas Maduro has been credibly tied to illegal substance trafficking out of his country. He rules with an iron fist. Dissent is crushed by his military government. You get it. Venezuela, despite having some political chaos, is still fairly successful as a country, largely because it is a huge oil state, right? Like they have a lot of resources in the way of oil and some other things too. Donald Trump cannot stand Nick Maduro. In fact, when Trump got back in office the second time, he has put a bounty on Nicolas Maduro's head for anyone that can capture him in the name of the United States. Donald Trump also famously is having a war on immigration, and he also wants to expand that out into a war on illegal substances in America.
I thought that's what he said in the last video. So Trump put $1 million on a president's head. Hey, man, what the fuck? What set is Trump from? Like, who is putting the bounties on people? Like, this is worse than the damn mafia. What are we doing, America? Like, I thought we were stopping wars. Like, no war, no peace. No war, no peace. Like, what's going on?
So a few months ago, Donald Trump, using the U.S. military, has illegally been striking Venezuelan boats they suspect to belong to the cartel. I said illegally because that breaks the law of both America, which says that you need the approval of Congress to conduct any act of war. And it's also internationally criminal, just because you can't strike enemy combatants that aren't belonging to any kind of military force. Like you can't strike the sovereign citizens of another nation, even if they're committing crimes that affect your country. This is essentially the equivalent of if Mexico saying.
Now, that makes more sense as to why that general stepped down, because he said, hey, we doing something illegal and I'm not going to jail for you Negroes. I'm telling y'all, it's more to it. It's a lot more to it. We just barely tapped in.
This is essentially the equivalent of if Mexico sent in jet planes to bomb, Smith and Wesson because too many guns are coming into Mexico. And despite the fact that Donald Trump is openly committing war crimes, despite the fact that the vice president has bragged about them committing war crimes, it doesn't look like the United States Congress is going to do anything to stop him. And most political thought leaders are thinking that Donald Trump is trying to do something that's called a regime change. A regime change is actually very common in United States history, especially in South America. Basically what it means is that America feels threatened by who's in charge in another country, and they use covert operations to try to get whoever's in power to be overthrown and replaced by someone that's more friendly to America. This is very obviously what Donald Trump is attempting to do, right? If you ask the Trump administration, it's because there are so many overdose deaths in America that Venezuela is responsible for. Again, this is a lie. Venezuela only accounts for about 10% of the illegal substances that come into America. So, it's just not worth our time, even if we do.
I got a question. It says, don't get your geopolitics from TikTok. Well, if we watch the fake news, they gonna lie to us. At least these people telling us something. Cause every time you look at the news, they regurgitate the same stuff. We got people on TikTok who actually do a little bit of research, but they don't get the notoriety. So you gotta push them out there. You gotta see what's out there. And you listen to multiple people, so you don't just hear one source of news. You hear from multiple different people. Like we had the hood chick earlier in the bonnet. We got this nice young gentleman right here telling us the story. We're about to have a white guy tell us some more stuff. So it's just like you get the information, but we don't. Y'all say don't trust the news. Don't trust the news. Who we supposed to trust? Who do we trust? We got to trust the people, and these are the people. The people are on TikTok. That's where I ain't saying just go ham and be like, oh, that's what they doing. Like, you got to kind of, that's why we go to multiple sources and get the information and then put it all together and be like, all right, so that makes sense why this is happening. I get it. It's TikTok. People on there dancing and committing pranks. But then at the same time, there are actually people that got real live information. We just got to dig into it because the regular news source is paid. They paid not to keep us stupid. Okay?
So that's crack down on this in a violent way, which leads people to assume that it's because Donald Trump wants oil. Donald Trump's economic policies have put America in a rough position where we don't have the same resources that we used to. So it'd be very convenient for America to have an oil bank that we can constantly leech off of. The Trump administration has refused to provide any evidence that the boats that they're striking actually belong to the cartel. And there's some facts that make it seem like they might be like immigrant boats or fisher boats. So Nicolas Maduro is very unpopular in Venezuela. The vast majority of people want a different leader by any means necessary. The current leader of the opposition is a woman named Maria Corina Machado. She actually just won the Nobel Peace Prize. And she's doing anything she can to become the new leader. There was an election that a lot of people speculate was rigged by Maduro. And that's who the people want mostly. However, she is controversial because she is in bed with the oil companies, and she's made no secret of the fact that she's willing to work with Donald Trump in order to assume power herself. And unfortunately, she also said that those strikes on those alleged cartel boats were completely fine with her. So where are we at now with it? Where are we at with it? It's looking like there's gonna be an official war with Venezuela. There's gonna be boots on the ground at some point. At least that's how it's looking. Donald Trump has sent warships, planes, and are essentially building.
So we got a war on the brink, food stamps closing, government shutdown, rising food prices, tariffs, farmers getting bailouts, the Argentina bailout. Hey, I'm going to be proud to be an American where at least I know I'm free, but I don't know if they go keep pushing me to this limit to become a damn, a citizen of the United Kingdom.
Up U.S. forces on the Venezuelan border, not dissimilar to how Russia treated Ukraine. Despite the fact that Donald Trump wants to be seen as like the peace president, he's also more than willing to annex another country. He wants to do it. He's claimed he wanted to do it. So, yeah. Obviously, I don't want a war with Venezuela. I'm kind of old. I'm 26, right? I don't think they would draft me, right?
Well, you're going to be the first to go. Get an ass. No, they ain't finna draft. The draft ain't happened in years. I don't think we have plenty of troops, so ain't nobody finna get drafted. That won't happen. This is what I want y'all to hear. This is the white guy now.
So I'm going to give a theory as to the real reason why that admiral resigned. Why the admiral that was in charge of the strike group that hit those Venezuelan boats as to why he resigned is because he found out after the fact that it was just fishermen, that it was civilians, that it wasn't a valid military target. And he realized that they made him commit an act of murder. And so they were using that to hopefully corner him into doing what they want him to do. That's why he took, so basically the options were that they gave him were follow these orders, or you're not only going to get thrown in jail for not following orders, but you're also going to hit with a murder charge as well. We'll hit you with murder. So they cornered him. So he took option 3. So the first option, follow orders, get ready to do an amphibious assault on Venezuela. Or option 2, say no, go to jail for not following orders and get hit, and get hit with a murder charge. So, like I said, he took option 3, which was, fuck you, I'm resigning and I'll be testifying at your war crime trial. Because you gave me false information. You did not give me a valid military target. You made me commit murder. That's why I'm quitting. Because even he knew that if he were to say no to illegal orders, there's a high probability that he was going to get locked up. Even if it turned out after the fact that the orders were unlawful or unethical, that would still be time he would be spending in jail, pending trial, and being silenced. So instead, he resigned. Now he's able to talk and influence his peers to say, hey, Donald Trump is going to make you commit war crimes. And these are unlawful and illegal orders. So, yeah. Now they're training up over 10,000 soldiers in Puerto Rico to do an amphibious assault on Venezuela. And here's the thing he understood too, is that if there was drug operations happening off of the coast of Venezuela, that's a law enforcement action. That's like a responsibility for the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is specialized in this. There was no proof that the boats that he hit were drug runners. There was no proof. And even if there was, that proof would have been destroyed in the strike. So nobody had any idea. And again, there were 2 survivors, and they even said that they were just fishermen. They had no idea what was going on. That should have been a Coast Guard activity. They could have gone onto the boat, checked, and then that would have been that. But no. Like the military said, the military is meant for military targets, not civilian targets. Even though they may be drug runners and they may be cartel members, they are still civilians. They are civilians committing acts of crime. And for acts of crime, that does not need a military response. It needs a law enforcement response. And that's what they know. They're trying. And here's the biggest reason as to why they're wanting to invade Venezuela. It has nothing to do with drugs. It has nothing to try to institute a regime change. Even though the people of Venezuela want Maduro gone, they want him out, that should be up to Venezuelans. We should not be involved. We should not be having our servicemen and women die for another regime change. And it, like I said, it has nothing to do with any of that. It has everything to do with the resources that were discovered in Venezuela. Huge amount of resources. They want to invade, topple government, extract. That's what it is. It was resource, government collapse, collapsing another government, and extraction of those resources. They see money. They don't see people. They don't see lives. They just see money. And that's what the Navy Admiral was saying. Fuck you. I'm not doing it. So he's trying to start a war to try to keep himself in power because he saw Zelensky do that in Ukraine. So he thinks that if he starts a war, there won't be any elections. He thinks that he's been asking people how he can make the American people bow to him like they do in North Korea. He's asking Putin how to get the police to round up dissidents. He's talking to all these dictators to try to get ideas on how to implement these authoritarian policies so he alone can remain in power forever for the rest of his life.
Hence the No Kings rally. Do y'all think this is what's going on? I mean, he does have a fascination with Putin and Kim Jong-un. I mean, it's kind of weird, and because I guess naturally being American, they're not our friends, but he's as a leader of a country, Trump has taken a liking. Once Trump knew that becoming president was a real thing, he was like, oh shit, I could really be president. At that point, he started aligning himself with Russians and with the likes of Putin and Kim Jong-un and other dictators around the world. But he don't like for some reason, he don't like the Venezuelan dictator, but he likes the Argentina dictator. I don't know. It's just something, it's just not right with that.
You know? It's like, it's so plainly obvious, and none of it's working. The No Kings protest just showed it, that none of his responses is working, and that's why he's freaking out, because it's not taking. It's not turning into North Korea. It's not turning into Russia. It's not turning into any of these places, and he's losing his shit about it. But he's more focused on enriching himself. That's all this is. He's willing to kill civilians for resources. That is fucked up. And more than that, he is wasting not only taxpayer dollars to do that, but he's also putting our own military at risk for a fight that should not happen. It is law enforcement that should be involved in the drug operations, not the military. That is not what the military does.